Hello. Hi, everybody who's here. I'm going to look at the chat real quick. I'm trying to look between two screens. Hello, Kim. Hi, Dan. Hi, Frank. Hi, Mr. Buddy Lambkins. Hi, Cassie. Hello, everyone. How are you doing this evening? I am glad that you are here because tonight we are talking about our favorite subject, ghosts. And hauntings and things and coffee. Sometimes coffee. I don't know. So welcome to the theater of the unliving, my fuzzy little death bombs. I'm the ghost of the girl that died in a car crash on prom night and just asked you for a ride home, Vivian Noir. And today we are talking about a subject that I know and love very well, as do all of you, obviously, or you wouldn't be here. The paranormal. So we know the shows, we know some of the terminology, but did you know that all hauntings are different and that there are 4 major types of hauntings? Well, you do now. So sit down, class, take notes, because school is in session. This is Paranormal 101 Hauntings. Hello, everybody who is joining. Thank you very much for joining. So let's get into it, shall we? So there are 4 different kinds of hauntings. Primarily, for the most part, most of them fall into these 4 categories. A lot of them they're known by the acronym DRIP, which we're going to change up a little bit tonight because one of them I think is kind of a misnomer. So we're going to switch up the lettering a little bit. And we're going to start right now. Give me a second to share my screen. Actually, I had it up and ready to go this time. Let's see if this works. Okay. Hopefully that is not too small because we're not really needing a whole lot of screen space tonight. So you get to look at my lovely face instead. So there are many different kinds of hauntings, and some can occur simultaneously within one property or location. So it's not limited to just one kind per space. You can have multiple different kinds of hauntings going on in the same area. And of course, always approach things with healthy skepticism, as we do. We always try to debunk potential evidence before jumping to conclusions, because you know what happens when we jump to conclusions. It's never good. And it's always demons, Sammy. It's always demons. So with that being said, let's get into the different types of hauntings, and we're going to go based on their overall frequency or prevalence. So the first type occurs the most frequently, and these are the ones that you encounter the most often, and those are residual hauntings. So residual hauntings are often described as a tape playing in a loop over and over at random times due to tragic or traumatic events. Trapped or imprinted energy is bound to the location or space because of past events that occurred there, i.e. the rock tape or stone tape theory is where residual hauntings fall into. They fall under that umbrella. These can involve tragic deaths or murders or things like that, but they don't always have to. The difference between a residual haunting and an intelligent haunting is exactly that. There's a lack of an intelligent response from the spirits or energy present. Setting up trigger objects then like REM pods or trying to do EVP sessions generally won't work with hauntings like these ones, because much like watching a videotape on loop over and over and over again, no matter how much you talk to the images on the screen, they can't hear you and they can't interact with you. The type of energy that is present doesn't possess awareness or consciousness, or doesn't seem to be able to convey that in order to respond to you. The energy and it's usually some sort of catalyst. It's believed that some sort of this activity that pops up in residual hauntings is related to some sort of trigger or a catalyst that causes the tape to play and the activity to then occur. The trigger can be a variety of things, such as the form of a physical object, like a deck of cards. There is a table at, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Old Washoe Club, which is very haunted. The poker room at the Old Washoe Club, one of the trigger objects is supposedly a deck of cards. So if you go and sit at the poker table with a deck of cards, the activity kind of ramps up around there. Dontex, yes, the theory is that they are stuck. Basically, it's like if you were sitting in front of a closed circuit TV and just watching a portion of a tape on loop. It's basically that, where you're just like Groundhog Day, kind of experiencing the same event over and over because the energy is trapped there, or it is impressed upon the actual location due to some, again, it's usually related back to some horribly tragic event that caused this to imprint on the actual building, ground, location itself. So the trigger object could be a physical object, like a deck of cards or a toy of some kind. Or it could be, let me play my own thing here. It could be auditory triggers, like people arguing, crying, laughing. It can be abstract even as to the year or time of day. There's it would really suck to be stuck in Groundhog Day. Not only are you dead, but you're now stuck in Groundhog Day forever and just like in a loop. And it's an interesting thing because it's a portion of the energy that's kind of stuck. This is how I've always interpreted it, that it's not a whole being that's trapped there, but a piece of somebody that's stuck. So I would imagine it's kind of like a part of them is left behind. So that not the whole soul is trapped there, but enough of it that it just runs through this routine of whatever caused it to stay. And that's why it can't respond either, because it's not the whole being. There's not enough energy that it can actually respond to you. Hi, Carnage. So various triggers can cause this to loop to happen. There's a place it's actually a commercial casino in Elko, which you guys have seen, that there's a spirit that he tends to only appear on around New Year's. For whatever reason, whatever happened to him and caused him to cross over, caused his life to end, happened on a holiday. So he tends to appear around the holidays. So, and only during that time is he ever seen. So that is his particular trigger. Therefore, determining exactly what the trigger may be is important for these types of hauntings in order to capture that activity. So if you can determine, okay, well, this happened on this day at this time, or this person was partial to cigars, or there was an argument that happened here before this tragic thing happened. If you can kind of try to simulate those circumstances, sometimes you can up the chances of you capturing something, or you can capture, a little bit more activity than you would normally catch. So this is also why some historical and paranormal research into the background of a location can come in handy, since knowing the names or circumstances that may have left a distinct spiritual impression on a place may help you with capturing solid evidence. There's also a theory that suggests that certain deposits of minerals in the bedrock or below the foundations of a location, for example, quartz crystal or precious metals like gold or silver, copper, or even having a running source of water like a river near the location can increases the chances of a residual haunting, or may act as a spiritual antenna to boost activity. But of course, further study is needed. For another example of that theory in play is that the Black Monarch, which you guys have recently seen the newest episode on Haunted Side, the entire town of Victor, which it was a mining town, there is still mining that occurs there. So the ground is ripe with precious metals, gold mostly, and some other precious metals, which of course are all conductors. And also the whole bedrock of the town, the base that it's built on, is just infused with quartz crystal. So it's possibly a major ley line, like Sedona, Arizona. So yeah. So that first, it was insane. Wait till part 2. We go into the basement. It is Nutter Butters. So yes, that's also a running theory. And that's also a running theory, and I think it's been discussed here before, that we think that's why mining towns, not only do mining towns generally have some sort of tragic history, because there's a lot of mine collapses, people died there in tragic, unplanned circumstances, but also the mining towns are full of, like veins of ore that run through there still. So that can definitely amp up the spiritual activity in a location, just based on that sort of theory, which of course, I don't know if there's really a way to scientifically test that, but that's the working theory. Yes, my phone is going off. Sorry about that. So the next type of haunting is similar to residual, but differs distinctly in that it involves direct responses or interaction with investigators, and that is intelligent hauntings, as you may have guessed by the title card that popped up. Kind of a dead giveaway. These are the main types that are investigated by paranormal investigators. As the name implies, there is some sort of consciousness left behind or awareness by the spirits present at a location. These sorts of hauntings are often identified as spirits of deceased persons who have either crossed over, and the responses are that of a lingering soul or consciousness of the dearly departed. These are the most fun to investigate because these are the hauntings that are very active. You may get direct answers to questions via a spirit box, via a spirit board, or an Estes sensory deprivation session. These are also the ones that you would use tools like this at, because they're a little bit more interactive than just a looped tape that has no way to respond to you and just kind of just plays over and over throughout eternity. So objects could be thrown or moved during these as well, as you guys have witnessed multiple times. The Centralia, since May 27, 1962, Centralia, Pennsylvania is basically Silent Hill. If you haven't seen photos of it, the mine caught fire in 1962 and the town is still burning underground. It's basically an abandoned town these days, and just like smoke comes up and like fog comes up through the streets, and it looks like Silent Hill, and it's really creepy. I kind of want to go there, not gonna lie. So where was I in my notes? I'm losing my place. So objects could be thrown or moved, and EVPs are often captured in these places, or disembodied voices are heard in these locations. Interactive paranormal investigative tools of all sorts are useful in these kinds of hauntings, like this little guy right here, the K2. Being touched or scratched, and other physical contact can also occur in these kinds of hauntings depending on the strength of the energy present. So that is a K2. You guys are very familiar with that. It measures electromagnetic fields, EMF meter. If it goes up to the yellow, shit is getting cray-cray. They recently filled in access roads to keep people out. Boo, I'm climbing. I'm parking my car and I'm getting out and I'm climbing them over so they can't stop me. That little fun device is a REM pod. You guys are familiar with those. Those respond to proximity. It's like a proximity alarm. It's a temperature detection device as well. So it'll flag if there's a temperature change, or if there is a physical contact with the REM pod. It only goes off if something's touching it, because we've even tried to debunk that, or we've put our phones next to it, or we've stepped next to it. It does not go off when we are next to it. It only goes off if you literally touch that little antenna. It makes that weird noise. So that is a Mel meter, if you guys are unfamiliar with that one. Don't use that one too often. But it's also kind of measures, it measures temperature shifts, it measures environmental and atmospheric changes that can flag you if a spirit is nearby. Used to use that quite more often, but I don't see too many people use this one anymore. And it does, I've noticed that when it acts up, especially, like all of a sudden it'll start like measuring like 1,000 degrees and you're like, what the heck is going on? There is something definitely weird going on there. And of course that is an electronic voice recorder, which you guys are familiar with. Most teams obviously use those of some sort to capture EVPs, to capture disembodied voices. A lot of times you only hear stuff when it's played back because you don't hear it in the moment. When you're talking, or it's like you'll go to play it back and you're like, oh, there was somebody talking under your voice while you were talking, or you'll hear a breath between things that you did not hear initially when you were asking questions. But of course, voice recorders, and they're not too expensive. There's some nice ones. This is a nice one. They're not very expensive at all, but these are the kind of objects that you would use during an intelligent haunting. The third type, as you can see, is similar to residual, but it differs distinctly as it involves, it's the third type. It's pretty rare, actually, and somewhat controversial, due to inaccurate portrayals in Hollywood and popular culture. And it actually means literally, does anyone know what poltergeist means literally in German? What it literally translates to? Did anybody know? Noisy ghost, rumble ghost is the literal translation of poltergeist, rumble ghost. And yes, you guessed it, poltergeist hauntings. While some theories go off the presence of a malevolent spirit in a space making chairs stack on themselves and dishes fly across the room, this is kind of a misconception. And Hollywood and movies do generally get those occurrences at least correct. But the current belief is that many instances of poltergeist activity are actually psychokinetic in nature and involve a living human source known as a human agent. The activity tends to start off as knocks, bangs, sounds, but then escalates into objects moving on their own accord, like doors opening and closing by themselves, or furniture starting to move like across the room. The activity will intensify, manifesting itself through voices or even the appearance of full-bodied apparitions. Many shows are based on this sort of activity since it is the most terrifying and the rarest type to occur. This is where you see a lot of Hollywood movies, i.e. Poltergeist, things like that. Those are the most, because it's the most shocking. Often stories of this activity seem to center around young women in their teens, but they can also be the focal point of male subjects and older women as well. The agent may be highly stressed with the changes occurring within their body, coupled with other psychological, emotional, and physical factors, resulting in the manifested activity. In these instances, the agent seems to be the one affected the most by the paranormal activity. They seem to be the sole target of everything that is happening. Activity will often cease when this person is gone from the location or absent from the space. The haunting seems to stop. The objects moving are being done so by the human agent without them realizing it psychokinetically. So they're moving it with their mind, basically, just due to the brain itself being overloaded by multi-stimuli and stress not being handled in a healthy way. So the brain kind of does this, they think, in an act of self-preservation, because you're not, we're going to go back a second, because they're not handling the stress and the brain's just kind of short-circuiting and doing this to get away from me as a protective thing. There are other theories too that support that that pinpoint this kind of activity is not just one spirit at a location. So there are theories that tag poltergeist activity as actual not human activity, as spiritual activity, but that it's not one spirit, but a group or several spirits that pull their energy together in order to become strong enough to move large objects and make loud noises and stuff. These can be angry or agitated spirits. And in order to remedy the situation, it must be determined by close investigation techniques and a process of elimination if the source of activity is indeed a human agent or spiritual. So it would take some in-depth interviews, some perhaps mental health history or medical history, and going back and looking at these things to find out, is this an actual spiritual event, or is this an instance of psychokinetic activity? kind of, you can usually determine these by close investigation and or medical history and process of elimination. If the source of the activity is indeed a human agent, then once the human agent is usually made aware that they are the source, because you've narrowed it down to like, okay, it only happens when this person is here, or they seem to be the most affected. Once you make them aware of it, the activity generally stops after that. It's like almost like they're doing it unconsciously, and once they're aware that it's happening, it ceases. If it's spiritual, the source of their anger must be pinpointed in order for them to detach from the location and move on. But most cases just kind of stop on their own as suddenly as they started, and there may be no explanation left as to what caused it to begin with. One of these is, and this is a photo of it here, it's a pretty famous case of poltergeists, Enfield, the Enfield poltergeist, which they thought was a spirit, I believe. A lot of these have been potentially spirits, but I think the working theory, popular theory now, is that it's kind of the psychokinetic thing, which is interesting. I didn't realize that until I was kind of like looking into it myself, that I was like, oh, they kind of have the general determination is that these are not ghosts doing this. It's like a person doing this and not realizing that they're doing it, which I was like, all right, like I'm still, very familiar with the Hollywood, poltergeist, like Amityville horror explanation of a poltergeist, stacking chairs and making the walls bleed and shit. So I was like, oh, this is news to me. This is cool. So any questions so far about things before we get into the fourth type, which is the one I'm going to change the letter on, because this is the one I feel like is a misnomer. You guys already kind of saw that. Yeah. Mr. Bunny Lamican said they have found out during an investigation by taking the person out of house/location, and then there's zero activity. So once that person, the human agent, is removed, generally the activity just ceases and stops. Yeah, the Enfield poltergeist. That is a photo of Enfield poltergeist. I had another photo in that slide, but I think when I was making the video, accidentally left that photo out. But that previous photo of the girl flying out of bed and these with the chair stacked in the kitchen were both from the Enfield poltergeist incident. And then, of course, Amityville, which you guys are pretty familiar with that story, the Amityville horror, which that one was probably a spirit if it was real, which we won't even get into that. There's theories back and forth on Amityville, and that's a real controversial thing to bring up sometimes with investigators and in the paranormal community, because you have people in like two camps on that one. You have people that are like, yes, it was real and it was 100% all this happened. And then you have people in the other camp that are like, no, they kind of admitted later that they faked a good portion of it and they fictionalized good chunks of it to basically sell books and make a movie. That it might have been mildly haunted, but it wasn't to the degree that it was made out to be in the book, and it was definitely kind of amped up. So there's definitely two camps on that one, and it's kind of where you guys, where people fall on the two sides of that debate with Amityville. It is a controversial one for sure. Yeah, some houses can have all of the above. You can have an intelligent haunting, a residual haunting, a poltergeist in the same location. That would be really rare, because poltergeist activity, again, genuine poltergeist activity where it's not being staged by somebody, because this, unfortunately, Hollywood making, glamorizing it and making it the most dramatic kind of haunting, where chairs are being stacked up, refrigerators are flying across the kitchen, couches are being stacked on top of each other. It's the most dramatic and the most terrifying, with maybe the exception of the fourth kind of haunting. So it's also the kind that tends to get faked the most by less than honest paranormal investigators. The, hooking fishing lines to things and making chairs go across the room, or making microwaves go flying, or books go flying, or things like that. So the kind that gets staged the most, of course, are going to be the most dramatic, which would be simulated poltergeist hauntings. Sleep paralysis. What would sleep paralysis fall under? Sleep paralysis more falls under a doesn't really fall under a paranormal, like a spiritual event. It falls kind of under more like, I don't know. Like, it's like, I think it's part hallucination, part like, not, they are real. They do happen. I've never had one happen, but I know people who have had them and it's genuinely terrifying, but I think it's also like a lot of it is the brain either hallucinating of some sort, depending on something's misfiring and you're seeing things almost like a lucid kind of dream, or you are actually seeing stuff through the veil, and that's an even more terrifying possibility, that you're actually seeing the things your brain doesn't want you to see and that your brain keeps you from normally seeing when you're conscious. It tends to happen when people are overly tired too. Glam, you're correct. When people are really exhausted, overly exhausted, almost to the point of like just full body exhaustion. And that tends to be when it happens, or under periods of emotional, physical stress is when sleep paralysis events are kind of triggered, which is also when, psychokinetic activity is triggered. So it very well could be something in the brain, again, that's because your body is under such duress that the brain doesn't really know how to handle everything that's going on. So it kind of goes into self-defense mode and just shuts down and just goes, nope, we're not going to deal with any of this right now. And basically just turns like everything off, except for like the creative side of your brain, like the subconscious, that like where you filter through dreams and stuff like that. Or you see things that you're not, generally kind of able to see when you're awake, that you would see these things then, because it's just your brain going into like just a self-defense, like, nope, we're not gonna, we're shutting down. We're like, we need a minute. We haven't slept. We're kind of like on edge. We're hallucinating. Stress cortisol levels are real high. Yes, not today, sleep demon. Generally, if you guys ever see me, I am the sleep paralysis demon crouching at the foot of your bed at 3 a.m. waiting for you to get off your phone. It's like, are you done on your phone yet? Can I come haunt you now? No? Okay, still checking Facebook. All right, I'll come back in half an hour. That's what the sleep paralysis demon would tell me. It would just be come back in my room and be like, girl, like, are you on your phone still? Like, I got places to be. I have people to possess and bodies to take over, and you are wasting my time. You know what? It's, we're rescheduling. I can't do this right now. I am backed up on appointments because of your stupid ass checking your goddamn phone. So you know what? I will be back. Maybe. You know what? I'm going to call my supervisor. We'll get this sorted out, but not today. Not today, me. Not today. Make an appointment, exactly. I'll pencil you in when you get off your damn phone. So, yeah, I think that's kind of it. It could be related to kind of like the psychokinetic sort of thing, where the brain's just like, shut down. There's my cat moving in the background. I don't know what she's doing. She's being a creepy kitty. You know, a little creep. Crazy story about dreaming about my grandpa. I saw in my dream, and aren't you supposed to be able to be dead? Oh, wow, yeah. Like, there's a crazy interesting stories about that. I've heard multiple stories about where people had either heard like somebody's voice or had a dream about somebody, and they were like, I had a dream that they died, and it's like, I just knew that something happened to them, or I saw their face, or like, and then I got a call immediately that said something happened, so-and-so is dead. There's actually a story, and I actually just learned about it today. After the tsunami in Japan, there were a lot of people obviously killed in the tsunami. There were about 10,000, 12,000 people killed, if not more than that. I think maybe it's up to 15,000. And there's 2,000 people like missing. So there were so many people that were killed that there was a lot of paranormal and supernatural activity that was occurring after the tsunami. And there was one instance where this man went to like a retirement home to visit his mother, but he was told his mother wasn't there. So he was waiting for her to come back. Yes, it was on Unsolved Mysteries, the new season, actually. If you check it out, it's called Tsunami Spirits. Go watch it. It's really fascinating. So he goes to the rest home to visit his mother, and he's told his mother is not there. Well, he goes and he's like, well, I'll just wait for her to come back. They were like out on a day trip or something, and she was due back. So he was like, okay, well, I'll just wait. Well, he was outside waiting, and he saw in the window an old woman, a woman looking out that was wearing his mother's clothes. And he looked closer, got closer, and saw that it was his mother. And he was like, oh, well, maybe they just mistook the fact that she was gone or whatever. So he went upstairs, and she's, lo and behold, she's his mother sitting there looking out the window. And he goes to take a photo of her. He goes to take a picture of her to show his family that, like, yes, she's okay. You know, she's here. She's okay. And he takes the picture, and then immediately the woman's face turns into someone else, and it wasn't his mother at all. And literally at that moment that he took that photo, this woman that he at first swore up and down, looked at her in the face and thought was his mother, then the moment the camera went off, turned into someone else, and it was not his mother. At that exact moment, the van that she was traveling in got washed away by the tsunami, and she was killed. So it's one of those instances of, like, somebody has that, almost like they see through the veil in the exact moment of someone's death, especially if it's a close loved one, a relative, a spouse, where it's like your intuition just knows something's wrong, and it shows you something's wrong. They describe, because Japanese culture looks at ghosts a little bit differently. They don't determine the dead from the living. The way they describe it, and it's a really fascinating description, is the screens, the shoji, the screens between, you know, the rooms, the room dividers in Japan, they're very thin, and you can still see someone through them. So, like, that's how we determine the difference, like, of between the dead and the living, is like a shoji screen. They're thin, you can still see through them. You can still see someone's shape, and you just slide it over and you walk through. But when you close it behind you, I can still see you through it. I can still kind of see you. You're still there. It's, yeah, the rice paper wall. So that's the way they describe it. And I was like, that's a really good description. That's like another, like, variation on the veil that we've heard of, that the veil being thin and stuff like that. So there's a lot of instances of that. Cassie says her husband's Oma was in the hospital dying. He went to visit her, and she told him that Claire, my youngest, was awake in the middle of the night, and she woke her up. The thing is, my youngest did wake up in the middle of the night, but she couldn't have known she was in the hospital. Yeah. So there's, like, I mean, instances of clairvoyance, clairaudience when it comes to, especially relatives, for sure. DJ says, I heard my Uncle Larry call my name one day later that night. My mom called to tell me he was hit by a car while riding his bike. I've heard a name when I was almost asleep, in that moment of, like, lucid, like, between sleep and awake. And I heard my mom say my name. My mom is alive. My mom is fine. But I heard her voice clear as day, as if she was standing in the room with me. I did not get up. I did not respond to it. I did not look, because I knew she's not here in the house with me. I live by myself. She lives in the same town, but not in the same apartment building even. She lives across town from me. So I knew it was not her. I didn't know what it was that was trying to get my attention, but I did not have the energy to deal with whatever was trying to get my attention at that very moment. Sabra said they have a similar experience happen when a dad passed away in our home. I was holding his head in my lap when he died, and EMS came to try to revive him. I literally heard him talking. Yeah. Like, it's a lot of people, and that's why I don't think these instances of these clairvoyant or clairaudient or experiences can be faked, because everyone sounds so similar. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't think they're hallucinations. I don't think it's people just imagining things or making things up, because everyone's had very similar experiences. A lot of them have same themes and things like that. Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy things that our brains do. And I really think, there's times that our brains do peek behind that veil, and we get to see the other side. And we're just sometimes not really sure how to process that. So we either chalk it up to like, oh, I was dreaming, or oh, I must have been hearing things, or it was my imagination. I just must have imagined it because I was stressed out. But I don't think that's the case. I think sometimes we see things that we wouldn't normally see because of stress or whatever. My cat is doing weird stuff. Talking about ghosts, now my cats are acting weird. So the final type, which the acronym for these generally is known as DRIP. And I'll tell you why I don't call that DRIP in mine, because I don't think this, I think this one's a little bit of a misnomer. So back on the fourth type. The fourth type is definitely been played up to the hilt by television shows and movies, and is typically called a demonic haunting. I feel like that's a bit of a misnomer and not entirely accurate, so we're going to refer to that final type of haunting then as inhuman hauntings. Inhuman hauntings involve beings, spirits, or entities that never walked the earth in human form, and while of course that would include the traditional description of angels or demons, it also covers elemental beings as well. Beings such as elementals are tied to the primal building blocks of nature and are inherent to many native cultures around the world. They're known by many names: fairies, mermaids, and are thought to possess supernatural powers that are invisible to humans, but they are bound to the natural world itself. Cryptid creatures are even sometimes identified as elemental spirits, as animism, or the belief that elementals inhabit all things, predates any major religion. So fairies, things like that, water sprites, water spirits, that is a skinwalker, and we don't talk about those because they are terrifying. So that would be an example of like an elemental spirit or a cryptid that can be considered an elemental spirit. Native beliefs really do believe in those things, and that is a not deer or a wendigo, depending on who you ask. But that also can be considered an inhuman spirit, something that was never human to begin with, something that is primeval, something that is of nature itself. And its belief in animism predates any kind of major religion. Now, of course, falling into this category of inhuman hauntings are the antagonist of every major paranormal network show: demons. It's Demon Sammy. First and foremost, demonic hauntings are real. They are real. Secondly, they're also very dangerous and shouldn't be taken lightly if one is encountered. Demonic hauntings possess all the same hallmarks as poltergeist hauntings, but with a few remarkable exceptions. First, many religious items in the home will either go missing or be turned around or turned upside down or knocked off walls over a period of time. Second is the distinct smell of sulfur or brimstone or rotted flesh just before activity starts to occur. A third thing that is noticed is that one person inevitably is affected more severely at the location than others, and strange behavioral changes are noted in that person, like sudden rages, becoming suddenly very angry, or verbally or physically violent with other people in the home or in the location, or becoming oddly quiet and agitated where they weren't before. Side note, being scared is not evidence of a behavioral change. Yes, a gargoyle. I like gargoyles. Gargoyles are rad. I would have gargoyles outside of my home if I can. I don't have room, but I totally would. So yeah, being scared is not evidence of behavioral shift. When I say change, I mean a distinct shift in someone else's nature that causes their behavior to fall entirely outside of the norm of their character. So if you go from a really like kind and like accepting person, and you're like a very like, you're not violent and angry at all, and you're very even tempered, and you suddenly become really agitated and want to fight everyone, that's outside of your character. So that could be a sign that you're being negatively affected by this demonic entity. You start, or just, I've seen footage of people just like in a location where they're starting to get affected, just staring. They just go like dissociate almost, and they're just like staring at a wall and they can't get them out of it. They kind of go into a trance a little bit. Seen that happen. So I'm of course very skeptical of the amount of demonic hauntings that occur, apparently, according to a lot of shows. I don't doubt that they are real, but I do doubt their frequency, according to a lot of these programs. Sightings of black mist, black fog, or black smoke are often reported in conjunction with demonic entities being present, as well as an unexplainable appearance of black flies or clouds of insects where there should not be any insects at a location. Suddenly bugs show up. Yeah, difference between demonic possession and demonic oppression. There is a difference. These entities are also very strong and are not shy about showing it. There have been instances of people being dragged up walls or thrown across the room in reportedly demonic-infested locations, people being choked, scratched, usually violent, being struck, things like that. They have no concern for time, and while these entities can be removed or chased away from a location with religious provocation, they won't ever be destroyed. They predate, in theory, they predate time itself. These are very powerful entities that you just don't get rid of. There's no crossing over for energies like this. There's no passing on. They will just move to their next target and start the cycle all over again. The good news is, while demonic or inhuman hauntings are real, they are also incredibly rare and do not occur nearly as often as shows would have you believe. Most of these demons that are on these larger shows more likely are negative entities or spirits of departed rather than actual demons or fallen angels. I believe that wholeheartedly, that most of the demons that are encountered on these popular programs are, in fact, actually just angry spirits and just mad entities that are like, not necessarily, you know, they're just evil spirits and not like a demon. So does anyone have any questions? We'll go into a clip where basically, like, what we try to do as paranormal investigators, and I'm sure you guys have seen it, is that we try to, and this is why we use different methods of contact, because you have the different kinds of hauntings. You have different kinds of hauntings that respond to different things. So we will try to basically get responses on multiple, or get basically responses confirmed on multiple devices or via equipment. Our five senses are a great monitor for activity. Your body will tell you if something is weird or something is off, but unfortunately, that is the only one that can't really be captured on camera unless you get struck or scratched or something like that and something physically is on you. When you walk into a space and you either feel an energy shift, or you smell something, or you just feel chills or spiderweb sensations, which you guys are very familiar with, you do feel those things. And your body is a great tool to determine if the energy is off in a place or if something is occurring in a place. But unfortunately, it's the piece of evidence that can't really be captured on camera other than your reaction to it. So, in conjunction with that, with your physical response to a location, then you would try to capture multiple recordings of, like, you could try to capture an EVP at the same time you're feeling those things, or something on camera if you happen to catch orbs or a shadow, or smelling something. Ideally, you would like to catch all of those things to confirm what you're feeling. So it's like, not only do you caught something physical being touched, you caught something on camera, a shape, a shadow, you caught a smell of something, either perfume, rotting flesh, rotten eggs, and then you caught an EVP. I mean, that's the perfect thing. So when you have things line up like that, it definitely goes further towards something not being debunked as just like, oh, it was just something weird that happened. Like, oh, are you sure you didn't walk into an actual spider web? Well, no, because we got like an audio response to what we said while we, while that happened. So I think I have the clip lined up and I'm not 100% sure. And I had better not get a copyright strike, because I swear to God, I know these people and I will beat them. I will punch. Fists will fly. Believe me when I say poltergeist ain't got nothing on me. When I say furniture will move. If I get a copyright strike, I swear to God. Let me see if I can pull it up, because this is the best example I can give you guys on video of that particular thing that I'm talking about, where you have conjunctive evidence. I think I have it pulled up to the right spot. Again, I'm not kidding, you guys. If I get a copyright strike, I know who I'm going to punch. Okay. Oh, and it's going to play an ad. That's even better.
It's amazing what a fresh perspective can teach us.
So I realize that we got to make money, but I hate YouTube ads, y'all.
I got that same spider web feeling again.
I think this is it. I've pulled this clip before, so it should be it.
Can we help you?
I'm not paying for YouTube Premium. I pay for too many things already.
Do you need help? There's a loud noise right above.
Did you hear that? I heard someone say yeah. You asked if we could help them, and I heard yeah.
Do you need help? There's a loud noise right above.
So you had a physical with the spider webs.
Definitely a male voice, quiet.
Audio.
But it was definitely
An EVP.
Yeah.
What do you need?
Another noise.
Whoa.
Hi, kitty.
What do you need?
So you've had two noises plus a physical sensation. So you've got two senses right now.
Yeah. It's mapping somebody there too.
Mapped on the SLS.
Right here.
So caught something on camera, so visual.
Right there. Right here.
3.
That was an odd noise. That was absolutely somebody moving.
Yeah.
More sounds.
If you need our help, we are more than willing to help you. How long have you been here?
So this is the Pine Grove ghost
It's right
town
next to you.
with the haunted side, if no one
You
knows.
smell that?
Smell
No.
4.
Like, I got a
Oh,
whiff
I
of,
got-
rotty.
So
I just got
4.
that same.
It's not a pleasant smell.
No.
No.
I've got bad chills right now.
Chills. Another physical. So,
Oh.
for example,
It
so
smells like burning.
it smells like burning. I love these reactions. Anyways, so yes, that is Pine Grove Ghost Town with the haunted side. Again, I know these guys, so if I get a copyright strike, I'm gonna punch them. Just throwing that out there. Somebody gets punched. You know, it was me. So you had 4 instances basically in that clip of different types of evidence that was picked up. So you had physical spiderweb sensations, being touched, chills, something captured on the SLS, visual, smell of something burning or rotting. And then you had multiple instances of sound, clicks, knocks, shuffling. So, I mean, you basically had you had it pretty much hitting on all cylinders. So that when you have a confluence of evidence like that, it tends to help debunk any kind of like, oh, it was a car driving by, or oh, it was a bug, or oh, it was a critter just running around under the house. When you have these things all kind of meshing together to confirm what you are seeing, hearing, feeling, this is why the equipment is very important. I do threaten to punch people, throat punch, uppercut. Yeah, if he shows up with a black eye, you'll know what happened, you guys. Just throwing that out there. I'm kidding. I would never. I'm so nonviolent. But like I was saying, you want those because physical sensations, again, cannot be picked up by a camera unless you get scratched or something like that happens. But that's why you pull the equipment out, because you're wanting to confirm what you are sensing, what you are seeing, what you are hearing. You want to confirm it on an actual piece of equipment, which is why all those pieces of equipment all work together nicely. They're so important to use. It's also why I tend to err on the side of the scientific equipment, like the the K2, the G2, the electronic recorders, the Ovilus, the SLS camera, the infrared cameras. So I tend to err on the side of those pieces of actual scientific gathering equipment rather than Ouija boards and dowsing rods. You guys know how I feel about those. They're a little too subjective for me. Not that I'm afraid of them, because I know how to use them properly. It's all about using things properly, right? But unfortunately, things like that are entirely too subjective, in my opinion. That is just me. If you guys feel differently, totally fine. I totally understand. There are a lot of European teams and UK teams who typically use Ouija boards for their investigations, and that's totally fine. Just to me, it is a little bit too subjective of a piece of equipment, because there's too many questions as to if you could move it, if somebody else is doing something. Same with the dowsing rods. It's in one person's hands. There's no way to confirm whether or not they're not doing this or their hands aren't moving. Same with the pendulum or something like that. Like, there's no way to confirm that or deny that. So Jason heard a ringing in his ears right before they caught the pre-spirit on the live stream. So when you have multiple things like that happening on multiple different sensory, different senses are picking up all of these things, and they're all telling you that something is definitely there, that is primo evidence. Because sometimes you'll get one thing, sometimes you'll get an EVP, you won't get anything else. Sometimes you'll get, a sound, you'll hear something, but then you don't get anything else. When multiple things, it's like, I want to go to that place because that place seems super crazy active. But I love when things like that happen, when that stuff lines up, when it's like you get like somebody like, I just felt this, and then you'll get a response, or like they'll turn the SLS camera and they're like, yep, there's something right next to you or something behind you, and you were just feeling something on your back. So that's when that stuff lines up. That is the kind of thing I show people who are skeptical, who are, wanting to debunk things just off the cuff and be like, well, this isn't real. And be like, okay, well, explain that. Explain the fact that, they walked in, they're like, my hand suddenly feels cold. Like my hand, like I have like a weird feeling in my hand, and they turn the SLS camera around and there's like, yep, there's a figure that's touching your hand right now. There's nothing next to you. It's mapping something touching your hand. Or you'll get some response on the ovulus or something like that. So, exactly. Love that sort of thing. But yeah, I know ringing in the ears. Yeah, I've I've not smelled anything at a location, thank God, other than at commercial. And when I tell you guys that was the worst smell, it was horrendous. And it was not like that during the day. It was only like that when we returned at night back up to that floor. You did not smell that anywhere else other than that room. And that is the only instance I've had of like a strange smell that should not have been there and had no explanation. We looked around. We looked for any kind of like, was there something dead in here? Like, was there like a dead pigeon that we didn't see during the day? Nothing. Like, we looked for any kind of thing that could have been causing that smell. It was horrible. Yeah, equipment matters, SCPC Ghost. Equipment matters because we can't, and obviously people just can't take your word that something is happening, right? You can't just go off of like, oh, something touched me. Okay, well, we need to prove that something's touching you. Let's try to get like a proof of it, Let's try to confirm that sensation. You can't just go off of like, I'm being touched right now, guys. I swear, I promise. That's what's happening. Like, you need to kind of prove that. So yeah, we can't just take people's words that things are happening. We need empirical evidence. And that is what those pieces of equipment are for, 100%. And the more equipment, the better. The more cameras, the better. Like, you can capture more things. You can capture more angles. You might catch something you didn't even notice that you captured. I can't probably tell you how many times that's happened, where you're filming or you're recording or something like that, and you don't even notice until you go back to review footage, or you'll hear stuff that you didn't hear the first time. You'll see stuff you didn't see, and you're like, I didn't notice that. What the heck was that? Like, I love when that happens too. And it's like, there was a reflection there. I don't remember that. What the heck was that? So, good stuff. Electrical, yeah, spider webs. I've not gotten the spider web feeling. I get I've gotten the back chills. Like in Black Monarch, I got back chills pretty bad in several spots. Like just went like up my back. I've felt something touch my back at a different location, like a full on hand, like as if somebody was behind me physically touching my back. Also, I've encountered a doppelganger, so there's that. They showed me the video. Yeah, the shadow. Yep, the shadow you caught. Yes, ma'am. There's things, and there's things that will, notice that it's like, and you guys will catch, or a voice that maybe we didn't catch it at the time, but you guys catch it because you have the headphones in and catch something and you're like, oh, and like we didn't hear that. Lots of EVPs, lots of disembodied voices, things like that tend to get caught up for sure. Article class EVP Paranormal Milwaukee. Yeah. There's a lot of different, and EVPs, proper equipment, not free apps. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And it's maybe a controversial opinion. I will say that this is it right here. So we're going to show that. I also tend to err on the side of actual equipment. The SB11 or SB7, of course, with the antenna down or taken out. Actual equipment and not apps, because apps are third party. I don't know who programmed them. I don't know the parameters that they work under. So unless if I were to design my own app, like Matt Benton did with his app, where it's like, there are people who design their own. If I knew that and I know what goes into the making of the app and how it's constructed and the way it works, then I might be a little bit more trustworthy of it. However, because I don't know that and I don't know the background of the app and how it was developed, and I tend not to use the apps that are on there. I don't use any of them. I don't use Ghostbox. I don't use Necrophonic. I don't use any of them. I just use the Spirit Box. That's just me. That is just me. Some people get really good responses from Necrophonic and from Ghostbox and things like that, but I don't entirely trust that that's not something that's been programmed into the app. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Also, this is open to the Q&A period, because that was the first episode of Paranormal 101. Hair in my face. If you guys like that, we can do another one. For sure. You guys are interested in like learning more about like cold spots or other like paranormal phenomenon, like shadow figures or any of that sort of thing. We can do like little kind of mini episodes or different episodes about different paranormal phenomena. Orbs would be a good one. A lot of those. A lot of them are dust. A lot of them are dust or bugs. But when they independently move, that's how you can tell it's an orb. Shadow figures. Yep, shadow figures. There's seen quite a couple of those. It's always a little jarring when you see just like, just a shadow just goes by and you're like, there was nobody there. That was no one's shadow. Cultural ghosts. Yeah, for sure. We can do also, like, I was thinking the Paranormal 101 would kind of cover, we could go over cultural ghosts, jinn, Japanese ghosts, different ghosts in different cultures, and how different cultures treat ghosts and how they are portrayed, and how, I can definitely do that. Cryptids, do cryptids too. I have a huge background on cryptids. I did so much research on cryptids, you would not believe it. Would not believe it. Black shadow creatures crawl into your bed. Yeah. Bridgewater Triangle ghosts. I did a one on Bermuda Triangle. That's an interesting, if you guys are interested in that, like the vile vortices. I did a one on, there's 12. There's 12 different vile vortices. She scares me. Yeah, La Llorona. I did research on that one too, for sure. That's a I think my favorite cryptid is probably a Wendigo, though. Even though, like, I would not fuck with one. I know there's only one way to kill it. Does anyone know what the way to kill a Wendigo is? Does anybody know? Just in case, this could save your life. I'm just kidding. I'm not joking. In case you ever know it, you can thank me later if this ever happens to you. Anyone know? You have to burn it alive. You have to burn it alive and catch it on fire. Yeah, catch it on fire. Just don't, if something screams after midnight, don't go out into the woods after it. But yeah, we can do like a, ow, my knee. knee. We can do a thing on Wendigo, like Wendigos, Skinwalkers, Loch Ness Monster. There's all kinds. There are tons of cryptids that we could cover for sure. A Wendigo at River Creek? Possibly. I think Wendigos are real. I will go on the record saying that. Wendigos and Skinwalkers, I'm pretty sure are actual real things because I think they're elemental spirits. And they're things that you do not mess with. These are not deities you can call on to help you out. Nope. Nope. As, you know, yeah. It would get to you before you could burn it. Well, like I said, Frank said, stock up on flamethrowers. This is why Elon Musk owes us all flamethrowers. To protect us from Wendigos. Werewolf, demonic possession. He does now. Patrick does know that now because I've told him. And he can watch this. So he needs to take a flamethrower up to Truckee because I'm pretty sure that's what's around there. A flamethrower, sometimes shovel snow. Werewolf, demonic possession link. I don't know. I've never heard of a link between werewolves and demonic possession. I've heard of links between, you know, lycanthropy, obviously, and werewolves and things like that, but I've not heard a demonic possession link with werewolves. I'm unfamiliar. Antarctica paranormal phenomenon. Antarctica's weird. I'm pretty sure the thing is down there, and I really don't want us to with it. That was like they found something. It was like that wouldn't have surprised me had they not found that during fucking 2020. Like, no. Hey, they found some sort of being down there. Do not mess with it. It's 2020. Screw that. No. It's the thing, and it's going to come eat all of us. Fuck that. Going to come hatch and like fucking lay eggs in our stomachs. I am not here for it. I'm not here for that at all. Good night, Glam. Faces of possessed were different. Look changed. I've seen like eyes of people change. People's facial features will change. I've seen that in cases of like demonic energy in places where people will be affected by their behavior, will 100% do a complete 180, and they'll go from a normally calm person to somebody that suddenly wants to fist fight everybody. They start yelling, shouting, throwing things, get really dark, or like just really like almost like dissociate, and their eyes will change. I've seen that happen. It is always disturbing when that happens, but that's kind of more of a case of like, yeah, like you said, there's demonic oppression and then there's demonic possession. So oppression is kind of when you're being affected by it, and it's when it kills, you know, when it takes you over is when the possession part happens. Think about why silver kills werewolves. Yeah, silver is a holy metal. That's why it was supposedly work against vampires too. And that's why vampires couldn't see their reflection, because most mirrors in the 1800s or in ancient times were backed by silver, which was considered a blessed or holy metal. Bermuda Triangle. Yep. Can do it on the Bermuda Triangle. Done it. Done the Bermuda Triangle plus the other 11 valve vortices around the world. So they're all evenly spaced. Don't want to get too tinfoil hat on you guys, but there are 12 different spots like the Bermuda Triangle, and they're all evenly lined up across from each other. They mirror each other, which is weird. I was like, I don't want to go far down the rabbit hole on this one because I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a call from NASA or the CIA or something. Silver is used in electronics and drains energy. Yeah, there's 12 different ones, and there's an equal amount in the northern hemisphere as there are in the southern hemisphere. There are 6 in the northern hemisphere, 6 in the southern hemisphere, and they almost like line up like this. It's wild. Do those. Okay, we could do that for the next one if I'm not, because John from GSI Paranormal and I are trying to like link schedules right now because he works and I work, and he's 8 hours, away in the UK. So we're trying to get our schedules lined up. Even if I have to record something and pre-record it and put it on for you guys after the fact, like if I have to pre-record something, I will, because he did have like some crazy like poltergeist like scratching experience that I really want to get into and talk about. If you guys haven't watched it, please go watch it. But we're trying to get that lined up. So in the meantime, while I'm, in between interviews and stuff like that, I can, definitely go into all that sort of thing. Should be crazy in this world, man. Like anything to distract us from the news today. I am down to talk about whatever. Stonehenge. Mm-hmm. Stonehenge is a cool one. There's all kinds of cool stuff. All kinds of cool, like, mystery spot. I love that stuff, you guys. Gates of Hell. Heck yeah. I am down. I am down to clown, you guys. Not clowns. No, fuck that. No. I will not. I shan't. I can't, I shan't, and I won't. I will not allow it. It is, you have been stopped. It is not permitted. Not in my house. Did I tell you guys that where I was in Tonopah and I was doing an investigation? The Clown Motel is right next door to the cemetery. Of course, Cemetery Road went there. Jason went to the 2 cemeteries in Tonopah. The older one is the one next to the Clown Motel. I hate clowns. You guys all know this. You guys are well aware that I hate clowns. So I refused to go inside the Clown Motel for any reason. I was like, I don't even want to go in there to like, there's a gift shop in the office. You can buy stuff. And I was like, I won't even go in there to buy anything. I don't want anything. I want nothing to do with this place. So we went back later at night. So we scouted the cemetery during the day, saw the graves. We wanted to come back and do like sessions EVP sessions, and went back at night, 10 o'clock at night, 27 degrees, thought I was going to die. And we're recording, and I have the EVP recorder, and I had the spirit box, and then I had this, my SB7. I'm walking through, and I have the SB7, and we're recording behind me on the EVP, and I was like asking questions as I'm walking through the cemetery, and I hear through the spirit box, you guys, not joking. This was 10 o'clock at night, Tonopah. There's nothing going on. This is dead silent. There are people staying at the motel, but the motel is quiet. The road is far enough away where we're not really getting interference from cars on the street. And plus it's 10 o'clock at night in the middle of nowhere in Nevada. So not a whole lot of cars driving around. And cemetery is dead quiet. Through the static on this thing, on this spirit box right here, this very spirit box, I hear like a clown horn. I am not kidding. And I went, what was that? Oh, I didn't care for that. And I did not hear it again. I was like, whatever was there, thought it was being funny, thought it was being cute. And I was not having it. I shut that down immediately. It was like, oh no, we're not doing this today. I already have to be next to this cursed building. We are not doing dead clowns today. It's not on the itinerary. Maria, no, don't count me in. It was like when my co-host started laughing, because she's like, immediately you were like, I didn't care for that. And it was like, sorry, okay, I'm not gonna do it again. She's like, we didn't hear that the rest of the night. We did get other things, but I did not hear any more clown horns. I will tell you that right now. No. Will not entertain any notions of clowns at all. That is my least favorite part of the Haunted Museum, you guys, is the clown portion, because inevitably there's always somebody hiding in there that jumps out at you. I hate it. I really hate it. I hate circuses and I hate clowns. And there's one whole middle section where you have to walk through that's like all clown puppets and mannequins and figures, and some of them are life-size. There's a whole wall of like life-sized clown mannequins that you have to walk past, and the hallway's like this big, and half of the hallway is in clown mannequins. And I'm like, I know if I make eye contact, I'm gonna, like, one of these is gonna step out and somebody is gonna die that day. And that is the day I go to prison. That is the day I commit a felony. Throwing that out there. I just keep my eyes on the ground and I walk as fast as I can through that section. What's my thoughts on the Clown Motel? No, it's not haunted. Clown Motel isn't haunted, you guys. It's just gross. It's just gross. It's like I've heard people stay there and they've brought bed bugs home, so it's just an old motel. The only reason it's any kind of like has any kind of reputation is because I know Ghost Adventures did go there. It's just clowns, and clowns are scary. That's it. It's creepy. There's clowns in every room. It's kind of a gross rundown, like roadside motel, and they filmed like a couple horror movies there. But there is nothing there. It's not haunted at all. Clown lives matter. They don't when I'm around. No. That I just if I could run through that section, I would, but I'm pretty sure they don't want me running in there. But I just like look down and just like I've dragged people through with me because they're also afraid of clowns, but they walk really slow and they just like freeze up, and I'm like literally got their arm and I'm just dragging them because I'm like, nope, we're not doing this today. If we stop, we die. This is how this works. If we stop moving, they get us and we die. So no, I will drag you through here if I have to, but we are not stopping to look at anything, because that in a haunted house is how they will jump out at you, and that's how they get you. No, not today, Satan. Not today. No. There's like midget clowns there. There are, yeah, no. I was like, no. If I had the little tuning thing, I'm like, no. Clown doll. Oh, that's mean. Your stepdad got you a clown doll right after a poltergeist? What kind of Indian in the cupboard? What kind of psychopath buys somebody a clown doll after poltergeist? That's just mean. That is mean. Mean. Rude, disrespectful. I had a little clown doll that I had gotten as a gift when I was like 6 or something. My dad's parents got me it was a little, and they had no idea because they lived in a whole other state, but it was like a little music box that was a clown, and you would wind it up. It didn't move or anything. It's like, it just was like a figurine, I guess, more than a doll, but you would crank had the little key on the back, and you would turn it and it would play a song, and its little head would kind of like go back and forth like this, which was creepy. I got it as a gift. I took one look at it and I threw it into my closet, and I refused to ever look at it again. I was like, and I did Google it to find out what it was later on as an adult. And when I look at it now, I'm like, it's not that scary. But as a little kid, I was just, no. Hi, Shape. Thank you. We're talking about clowns, and they're terrifying. I don't like them. Yeah. That sounds like an abusive stepfather, 100%. That sounds like something some abusive fuck would do just to emotionally destroy somebody because they're an abusive fuck. I would hire somebody dressed as a clown to go to his house and terrify him and just hang out around outside of his house and just pop up in his yard at different points. Like behind his car, just be like, and then like 2 days later, it's like in the garden, just pops up. Oh yeah. No, I would mentally terrorize that motherfucker until he broke. Until he ended up in a straitjacket in a hospital. Yeah. Was idiot dressed as a clown. Yeah, what was with that thing that happened? Again, not a fan. Do you guys remember that in like, what was it, 2015? God, it was like, seemed like forever ago. It was already 6 years ago. Jesus. Where people were dressing as clowns and like standing around and like just scaring people or chasing people. Like in multiple cities, people were doing this, dressing up as clowns and just like standing and like waving at cars and like dark alleys. And I'm like, do people want to get murdered? Do they want to get murdered? Because this is how you get murdered by me. Like, is that your thing? Do you want me to kill you? Do you want me to do that? Because this is how I go to jail. Although, to be fair, if I got rolled up on in a dark alley by some fucker in a clown suit that offered to make me a balloon animal and I put him down, I don't think the cops would blame me. They'd be like, he did what now? Yeah, okay, you're free to go. Fuck that. Fuck that guy and fuck that whole situation. Yes, take the cuffs off her. She's good. Oh yeah, I don't blame you. That's how you get your ass beat at the very least. At the least. No. Some people do some really stupid things thinking it's funny. And I'm like, you don't realize the consequence of something that can happen, because it's like, what if somebody is really like scared and really beats your ass? Like, yeah, no. I would, the moment, Mr. Bunny, the moment a clown showed his face out of a fucking sewer, I would have been, you know in cartoons when they show when somebody runs away and there's just like an outline of where they were standing because they ran away so fast? Me. That fucking clown face popped out of that sewer and went, hi, where's she got? She's already gone. Okay, wow, that was fast. I didn't even get the sentence of, okay, next kid, I guess, because she is just down the street, gone. just a cloud outline, like, is she here? Nope, she's already gone. Yep, and she has run screaming down the street. Yep, no to all of that. Just that is also how I ran from a goose once, but that's another story. Do you guys want to hear the ghost story? The ghost story. You guys do love ghost stories, but this isn't a ghost story, it's a goose story. And why I hate geese. And why I call them cobra chickens. And murder fowl, as they are. They're evil. If Satan was allowed to create one animal, I'm 100% convinced that it was a goose. That was what he was. God said, yeah, you can create one animal. And he went, and geese. Geese, motherfucker. They are horrible. So when I was 7, I was at a park. I think it was like a school trip or something. I don't remember exactly. All I remember was the sheer terror. So you'll forgive me if I don't remember the exact cause of the event that caused me to be at this park, because I have PTSD from this event. So I was at a park, and my parents were there, and I remember that, and I had a s'more. And it was a delicious s'more. It was a perfect s'more. It was graham crackers, chocolate, and marshmallow in the perfect trifecta. The Trinity, the holy trinity of sugar and deliciousness. It was amazing, and it was everything. And I wanted to eat the s'more very badly because I was 7 and it was candy and it's a s'more. Duh. So there were geese at said park at a pond. And one of these geese, a very large, angry honker, wanted the s'more. But I, being the little jerk and 7-year-old asshole that I was, refused to part with said s'more because I wanted to eat it, and I did not want to give it to the large angry cobra chicken that was now staring down at me like murder on wings. It chased me halfway across the park with its head down and its wings out, just a harbinger of doom and honks, chasing, and it was as big as me. Like, guys, I was not a big child. I was small at 7. When this goose was standing at full height, it was as big as me. So a goose as large as me, chasing me in a full aggression pose across the park because I refused to share my s'more. So this is what it looked like. Me running. honk, 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 like right behind me. As if, I mean, it was feathery death. The Grim Reaper wore feathers that day, guys, and it was not cute. And what did my parents do? My parents laughed their asses off at me. They laughed while I stared death in the face and refused to part with my s'more. And this is why my parents would end up in a home. Just saying. This is why. Don't laugh at your children when they're afraid of something, because they get to choose your nursing home. And who knows, maybe I'll choose one near a pond with geese. Maybe I'll do that. So that's the goose story, which had nothing to do with paranormal. But that's the goose story, you guys. I hope it was entertaining, because it was traumatic as hell for me. I hear a honk still, and I'm like, what is that? I hear a honk, and I turn into like a Vietnam vet listening to fireworks. I'm like, huh, why? No, my s'more. I can't have, no. Horrible. Awful creatures. They are awful creatures. They're just mean. They were terrible and mean, and there's no redeeming value. Ducks at least are cute. Ducks are cute, and they kind of cuss when they walk, which is the cutest thing about ducks. When they walk and their little tails go, and they're like, and they just like, I feel like just picturing them cussing under their little breath or whatever. The geese, no, they're just, no, they hiss, they bite. I've seen one like in a video full on run at a car into a fender, full speed, just because it was pissed off. At a car, it stared down a vehicle and said, I choose chaos today. A geese woke up and chose violence, you guys. No. That geese was that geese was, no. That goose, it was a single one. If you more than one, it would have been even more terrifying. That goose was about to cancel someone's life insurance policy, was about to send them to God same day shipping. If someone had been out of the car, they would have been in legitimate danger. Terrifying. No. Just cut it out. So thank you guys for joining. So next week will be part 2. So to get away from the subject of geese, but into the subject of murder. What about spiders? I love spiders, actually. I'm the person that scoops up spiders and takes them outside because I don't like squishing them. And I had a pet black widow for a little while, and her name was Bitey. So we will, if I haven't, it did have a death wish. No, it didn't have a death wish. It wished death on other people. That was the thing. Like, if it had a death wish, it would have just like laid on the ground under the tires of said car and just been done and just checked itself out. But no, it woke up that day and chose violence and chose to face off against a 2-ton vehicle and thought it would win. Seagulls are mean. Yeah, seagulls are they're just rude and aggressive. Like, I'm not afraid of them, but like, they're just rude and aggressive. They're kind of like sea rats with wings, from what I understand. They're basically sea versions of pigeons. Sea pigeons, as it were. Although, I will say, distracting back to birds before I close out the episode, I never realized, like, so seagulls are annoying. They're just trying to steal your food and everything. But I didn't realize how big, you guys, pelicans were until I saw one in person, and I went, that is a fucking dinosaur. I don't care what y'all biologists say and ornithologists say, that is a sea pterodactyl, and you can't tell me otherwise. No. Dinosaur. Right here. Sea scooping, fish eating, whole person gobbling dinosaur. No. I'm not here for it. Canceled. Pelicans are canceled. Bitey. Yes, her name was Bitey, and I loved her. I used to feed her cockroaches. She was very sweet. She never tried to bite me. Spiders, yeah, squishing them is gross. Spiders are beneficial and they're good for the environment and they're good at what they do. So I enjoy what spiders do. They contribute, they catch bugs, they do pest control. I appreciate and respect spiders. So I take them outside instead of squishing them. If I can catch them, I will take them outside rather than squish them. Have a verbal conversation with a seagull. Just yell at them. Just shout. Just scream at them. So next week is part 2. So away from murder chickens and back onto murder. Part 2 of Ted Bundy, Original Lady Killer, is next week, Tuesday at 6:00 on the Murder Corner. And then I don't know what we're going to do. I might take a week off of Dead Hours next week, or of this show, the regular show, or we could do if you guys really want to know about the Bermuda Triangle and that sort of thing and the vile vortices, we could do that one that week, because I already have the research done and it's already it wouldn't be too hard for me just to throw together a slideshow for you guys. What you think? I'm down to do whatever. I'm down to entertain you guys with stupid ass stories too about geese. The fact that you enjoy listening to my stupid ass is entertaining as hell for me. I'm like, really? Okay, people want to hear me talk? That's cool. 7:26. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Chessboard serial killer, Russian serial killers. Oh yeah, we're gonna get there. We'll get there. We will 100%. Once we cover some of the major American ones, we're gonna branch out to some world serial killers. So we're gonna branch out to the UK, to Italy, to Russia, to Japan, to all over. We're gonna cover murders from all over the world. We are not nationalist and egocentric here. We are equal opportunity murder corner. So thank you, Sabra. So thank you guys. Also, before I forget, actually, I'm gonna run it across the bottom before y'all leave. Don't forget, I think I don't know if they're still live, but New Reality was doing a team rewatch. So we are still working on getting the funds together to get the Haunted Side and New Reality to the Viper Room by March in California. Very famous location, very famously haunted. Only major network shows like BuzzFeed and Ghost Adventures have gotten to go there. So the fact that we're allowed to come in at definitely a discounted price is amazing. So this is an amazing opportunity that kind of happened last minute, took us off guard. So we're needing a little funding boost. So here's the link for the GoFundMe if you choose to donate to that. I did see Frank already donated today again. Thank you so much, Frank. If you have even $5, it helps out. Or if you want to kick it to the Patreons for either Haunted Side or New Reality, that is where that money is going as well. So basically 3 ways you can donate. You can donate to the GoFundMe or to either Patreon websites. Definitely going to be an epic investigation. Going to be, I can link it in chat. I certainly can. I do believe it is still copied on here for me. There you go. So that is the link for the GoFundMe fundraiser. If you go to either the New Realities page, their channel page, or the Haunted Sites channel page, they have both of their links for Patreon, I believe, up in the information sections on theirs or on the videos. You can go to any of their videos and they have those links on there. You can click on it, takes you right there to donate. So there's a lot of history there. It is the oldest building still standing on the Sunset Strip. It was a grocery store at one point. I believe it was built in the 1920s. So there's a lot of activity. A lot of deaths have happened there. Yeah, even a few bucks go a long way. Just to cover travel expenses, to cover the location fee. Normally this location, guys, would be $5,000. We are getting it for about half that for a steal. So we're just trying to stopgap, because any kind of, raising of funds that we do for the episodes and for the shows all go back to the shows. So they go back to pay for equipment. They go back to pay for locations. Well, this one we didn't expect. So we're like, fees have already been paid for other stuff. And we're kind of out. Yeah, like the money has been earmarked for other things. So we're like, oh crap. Okay. So we know it's a tough time, and we know that, finances are a little tight, but for, things, 2020 has not been great. And hopefully 2021 is off to a little bit of a rough start. Hopefully that gets better, but, any bit of dollar will help what we are trying to do. So please donate if you can. Thank you so much to those of you who have already donated. We will make sure to shout you guys out. I'm hoping we can at least shout you out in the episode. If not, maybe make some merch or something. I don't know. We'll kick around some ideas and see what we can do for the people who have donated and been very awesome. It's not looking so good so far. So I'm going to be an optimist, though, and keep my chin up. Chins. Let's be honest. Chins. All right. So thank you so much for watching, you guys. Thank you for tuning in with me tonight. And I will see you next week at 6:00 on Tuesday for part 2, Ted Bundy. And then Wednesday, part whatever for Bermuda Triangle for that. So thank you guys so much. And I will see you on the other side. Stay spooky, guys.